Good morning, everybody, and this another grey morning here in Dublin, and I thought I would talk today about the perception that I and many other Irish people have with regards to woke. Wokeism is a very loaded term which has been used in many different ways across the English-speaking world, especially over the last 10-15 years. The official definition of it is to be aware of social injustices within your own society. But it has come to mean those who feel that social equality has gotten out of hand, that the whole world has become too politically correct, and that those who traditionally have been on the receiving end of social injustice, either in the workplace or in society in general, have received way too much at the detriment of those on the other side of the equation. It can be linked to ideas of women's equality amongst those of the LGBTQ plus community, equality amongst those of different skin colour, different religion, and different minority social groups. These, for most Irish people that I've talked to, including myself, we kind of scoff at this idea of wokeism being a negative thing and being something that can be bandied against somebody as a mark of ridicule and degradation. There's many different reasons as to why the majority of Irish people have no problem being branded as woke, despite the fact that our neighbours in the UK and in the USA use this term largely as one of insult. Ireland and the Irish have always been kind of the second largest population here in the British Isles, or what is also called the European archipelago. With the English being the largest group. As such, we were often on the receiving end of social injustice down through our history, especially during a period between 1690 and the 1820s, known as the Penal Law period. Now, to understand this, you have to understand that these laws came about as a result of what are called the Williamite Wars here in Ireland, between the King James II and the new King of England, King William of Orange. This culminated in the Battle of the Boyne in 1690, where James II's army was decisively defeated, and William rose to become the new King of England. As a result of this, in order to prevent a resurgence of James supporters, also known as Jacobites, the British Parliament passed a series of laws which discriminated heavily against Roman Catholics, and in particular Irish Roman Catholics. Things such as our dance, our music, our religious practices, even our language were seriously degraded, and education was largely, or formal education at any rate, was largely banned for Irish citizens or Irish subjects of the Crown. This resulted in a period of over 100 years where the Irish were basically second-rate citizens within their own island, and led to the rise of what was known as the Protestant ascendancy, a ruling class of Protestant British, Anglo-Irish and Irish families who basically dominated Irish politics all the way up until the 1798 rebellion. It was as a result of this rebellion, and in the 20 to 25 years after that, under the leadership of people like Daniel O'Connell, an Irish politician, that these laws were peacefully repealed. As a result of these laws, which are still, we can still see the effects of in Ireland today, things like social equality and social justice became really core to Irish self-identity. The Irish really viewed themselves as being on the receiving end of the negative aspects of wokeism, as we would call it today, and that they understood the terrible consequences of an unequal society. When our independence came about in 1922, one of the core groups of the independence movement were the Irish workers, who had formed in 1916, for the 1916 rebellion, the Irish Citizens' Army, and which had before that been involved in large-scale protests for working rights and equality amongst workers throughout Ireland in the early 1910s. This group still had a huge influence on our politics going into independence. Another group which had a huge influence on Irish politics also was there's a group known as Cumann na mBan, which were a group of Irish women predominantly, which wished to secure women's rights, in particular voting rights within the new Irish Parliament. Both groups were armed during the 1916 rebellion, and both groups played a pivotal role in the early formation of the state. In particular, individuals such as Constance Markievicz, who was a key member of the first Irish Parliament. As a result, the ideas that we would kind of take as being woke in modern society were interwoven within the initial stages of the formation of the state. This isn't to say that it was all equality and liberty for all and social inclusion for everybody. Of course not. All right, people are people. In particular, minority social groups within Ireland that didn't fall under the categories of workers or of women's rights were treated in many cases quite badly. One clear example is how the traveller community was treated. Travellers, by the way, are very, very loosely be defined as Irish gypsies, and they were treated quite badly in the initial stages of the state, all the way up until quite recently, and the case could arguably be made that they continue to be treated unequal today. Things like racism, for example, although did exist in Irish culture at the time, were not predominant, mainly because Ireland, being an island off by itself, basically on the outer edge of Europe, wasn't really a destination for much migration into the country until very, very recently. So groups such as Muslims, Jews, people with darker skin didn't even fall under the radar of the new Irish state. Anti-Semitism did exist, but it wasn't really predominant across Ireland, with the more pressing issue of rights between Catholics and Protestants being much more to the fore. In fact, the Protestant population of Ireland at the time of independence was treated quite badly. So, despite the fact that Ireland was, in many cases, an unequal society, the strive to become more equal was actually interwoven and inbaked into the system, especially amongst certain equality amongst certain groups. This also was very, very clear in the proclamation of Irish independence during the 1916 rebellion, which basically outlined the fact that equality would be a central issue of the Irish Republic they foresaw, and this was a foundation document of the new state. So, to make a long story short, wokeism in Ireland is considered to be basically an essential part of who we are. It's not considered to be a negative thing. It's not considered to be an insult. It's just there, interwoven in our politics and in our society. And most Irish people, when they see accusations of this group or that group or this opinion or that opinion being woke, being bandied about in British and American media in particular, we don't really understand why it is used as an insult in those cases. The wish for a more equal society is kind of central to the Irish identity. Us, as I said initially, being on the receiving end of inequality for many, many years. But that is basically the case. So if you are of the mind to declare that an Irish person or an Irish opinion is woke, don't expect it to land in the same way as it might do for our British or American cousins. Right, have a nice day, and another video will be coming soon.